Hello and welcome. Are you ready to learn more about letting out the incredible person inside you? Let's get started with part 2 of being the best you. Since this is part 2, I suggest you watch the Be the Best You part 1 first if you haven't already. I will be referring once again to the book by Carol Trueman called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. I like to compare my mind to a garden. In my garden, I want to grow beautiful flowers of every color, shape, height, size, fragrance. I want to grow beautiful, majestic trees that change colors during all the seasons and have different shapes like the weeping ones, the ones that grow tall, the ones that are shorter, just all the different varieties that are so pretty. I want healthy fruits and vegetables to give that awesome nutrition to my body too in my garden. What do you want your garden to look like? Whenever you have a garden, weeds pop up. It's just part of nature. They just do. There's always an abundance of weeds. If left untended, the weeds choke everything good trying to grow there. So let's take this analogy one step further. The flowers, trees, fruits, and vegetables are the productive, positive, wonderful things in life. The weeds are the negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are trying to choke out the positive. If you've ever weeded a garden, you know that small weeds will come out with a slight tug when you're trying to get rid of them. If the weed has been growing a bit longer, its roots have a chance to grow deeper. You may need a trowel to get it out. If left to grow longer, you may need a shovel to get it out. Some weeds are so stubborn and their root system so extensive and invasive, it takes a tiller to dig them up. Still others have taproots that seem to reach to the center of the earth. It might take a backhoe to get those out. Some weeds are prolific at reseeding themselves. Just as soon as you get your garden clean and weed-free, the weeds are right back a few days later. Well, our negative thoughts, feelings, and energy are just like those weeds. Some come out easily, but others may take a lot of work to release. They may take many repetitions of the script in Mrs. Trueman's book. By doing many repetitions, you hit the negative energy from different angles. Let's say your boss comes and tells you that you did something wrong. His disapproval of you caused some negative feelings that you want to release and exchange for positive. Besides scripting for feelings of disapproval, you may need to also process feelings of being mad, ticked off, upset, indignant, and offended before that weed comes out. This is especially true if you've had many negative interactions with your boss previously. Let's take it one step further. Suppose you had a serious event in your life, one of those that impacts your life in a huge way. I'll give you an example from my own life. This happened when I was teaching special ed in a public school. One day, the sheriff came to the school to tell me that I had a stalker. I will call the stalker Jason. That's not really his name. I'm just going to change it. After a lengthy conversation with the sheriff, I figured out who Jason was and that I had known him since I was in elementary school as a classmate. Jason had done a lot of research on me. He knew where I live, what car I drive, where I work, and other specific details about my life. He drove 150 miles to come find me. What's more, he was on his way to the school, which also put the children and staff at risk. We were all lucky in the fact that Jason crashed and totaled his car a few miles before he reached the school, so he wasn't able to come like he had planned. The sheriff was called to the scene of the crash and found out Jason was on his way to the school. The sheriff told me Jason was violent and dangerous. The police department started patrolling the road in front of the school. This was really unusual because this school is located in a rural city just out in the country, and there's not much crime. And so for the police to make a presence there and continually all day, that was really unusual. The principal addressed the staff to warn us all about the danger Jason presented. It totally freaked me out. I lived in fear. I stored so much negative energy and had so many negative emotions that after about a month of constantly watching my back and being scared, I got physically ill. As you can guess, to let these feelings go, it's going to take a lot more work on my part than just reading through the script one time. So, first of all, I wrote Jason a hate letter. I laid it all out there, letting the venom just spew all over the paper like poison. My writing got less and less legible as anger and fear started coming out. I almost had a panic attack, and my nose started bleeding. Weird, huh? I wrote down the 5 feelings that stood out the most from my letter. They were hate, anger, fear, terrified, and made me feel like a victim. As I processed these feelings through the script, I had to add being jumpy and feeling like a prisoner. This helped release a lot of the stored energy. By talking to you about it, though, I have reinfected myself and will need to process these feelings again. It's just talking to you about it right now. I can feel my throat tightening up and my blood pressure is rising, my heart rate's increasing. So I know I've got some negative feelings trapped there still. The original feelings were so strong, it takes something at least that strong or stronger to replace them and let it go. If I had a rating system between 1 and 10, with 1 being low, this is hardly bothering me at all, to a 10, which is like, oh my gosh, the house is on fire and the baby is inside, I would have rated my stress level to begin with to be, probably about a 7. Now, I think I've got it down to about a level 3. Not ideally where I want to be, but certainly a huge improvement. By processing these feelings at least one more time with the script, I believe I can get this level down to a 1 or possibly even a 0. I may have to process similar feelings as well. If one feeling gets stuck, then other negative feelings get piled on top of that one. It compounds the problem. You may need to process very similar feelings to finally nail the exact one that is bugging you. When you feel it release, you'll know you got it right. For example, you may need to process the feeling of fear and being afraid. They are very similar, but their vibrations are slightly different. It's like tugging on a weed from another angle. Remember, we are complex beings with complex emotions. If you compare our emotions to a root system of a weed, they can be massive, deep, and running every which way. Many days I need to script several feelings in a row before I get into a kind of rhythm or a flow. Once I get some momentum going, it's easier to feel the positive replacements and let go of the old garbage. You may find it helpful to script a set of feelings for yourself as well. So, in review, here are the steps to get the backhoe out for a serious issue and dig it up once and for all. First, write a hate letter to the person who offended you. Second, pay attention to the top 5 negative emotions that come up through your writing. Write them down. Third, Burn the hate letter. Don't send it. That can make things even worse. Fourth, script through the list of negative emotions, replacing them with their positive opposites. Fifth, go through the script one last time, inserting the person's name and what they did in the negative blank. When you get to the part where it says, I choose, say something like, I choose to forgive Jason and let Jesus Christ take the burden. I feel able to forgive Jason and let the atonement work in my life. I am able to forgive Jason and allow Christ's atonement to work for me. Please be persistent as those weeds to gain the victory in growing a beautiful garden. This is Karen Matthews from the Power Zone. See you next time.